This quickly became one of my favorite hot sauces that I make. It has a good amount of spice to it, great flavor, and of course, it's nice. It's smoky, right? Simple to make, nice and fresh. While I'm waiting for that charcoal bread to get nice and established, let's prep up some ingredients. So I have 10 jalapenos, 1 green apple, 1 head of garlic, 1 green bell pepper, oil, pepper, salt, paprika, some white distilled vinegar, and then a little bit of water just to kind of adjust consistency on the sauce. All I did to the apple and the peppers is give them a quick rinse under cold running water. All you need to do with the jalapenos is take the stem ends off. If you want, you could remove the seeds and the placenta on this, but I want to keep it as hot as possible, so I'm keeping the placenta intact, and you can optionally remove the seeds if you want, right? Placenta on the pepper is really where the heat comes from anyway. The seeds are more of a nuisance to some people. So just cut the pepper in half and then cut each pepper into like 8 pieces or whatever. You don't really need to get too super critical with that. As I am cutting the peppers, I do like to look inside to make sure there's nothing rotten or anything like that. If there's a pepper that's rotten, obviously you're gonna want to discard it. Really can't beat the smell of a fresh jalapeno, man. I love it. They're good. Definitely a delicious tasting pepper. Chuck these into a bowl after you get them cut. The apple, I'm just kind of cut sections out of it, just around the core. Same thing I did with the jalapenos. Just kind of cut these into rough pieces. Bell pepper is easy as just stand it upright and cut around the placenta itself and the seeds. Get the garlic back on the cutting board, makes your life a little easier. Remove that paper. Compost that later on, right? Have 2 tablespoons worth of oil right here. Put it in, black pepper, some salt. I'm gonna hold off on the paprika because I'm gonna add that at the very end. I'm gonna be putting the peppers and the garlic and the apple on this perforated pan right here. That way you can lay everything flat and the smoke is able to come up from the bottom too. I love this thing, man. I've only used it a couple times and it looks destroyed. Trust me, it's a super cool thing to have when you're smoking. I'll wait for the charcoal to kind of get white just to the very top of it. I'll spread them out and then add the piece of wood and let that wood catch open flame, and then we're pretty much ready to smoke at that point. We've got a nice open flame going on that fire, so I'm gonna close all those doors up on the smoke box and the main smoke chamber, and then I wanna get this smoker heated all the way through, usually just until it's too hot to touch right here. Now I have the vents on the side of the smoke box wide open, and then I always keep the vent on the smokestack wide open just all the time. So this is gonna be quick. I'm gonna end up keeping the vent and then the smokestack vents wide open during this whole cook process, because I want to get the highest temperature possible. But if I'm cooking for a longer cook time, then I control the temperature with the vents that are on the smoke box itself. Does that make sense? So pretty soon I should see some smoke starting to come out here. And if it's just nice, clean, you know, if it's nice, clean smoke coming out of it, then I could go ahead and put my ingredients on the smoker. When I'm smoking peppers, I like to put them on the grate that's closest to the smoke box itself. That's where the hottest part of the grates are, is closest to that smoke box. In general, I like to smoke the peppers about 250, 275 degree Fahrenheit range, and they'll take about 1.5 hours to 2 hours in order for them to be completely soft to blend them up to make the sauce. All right, make sense? So I need to add wood every 30 to 45 minutes. Basically preheat the wood by putting it on top of the main chamber right here before I put it back in the smoke box. If the wood's hotter, it's gonna ignite quicker. Therefore, we don't lose as much temperature in the main smoke chamber when I have to open the smoke box to put the more wood in. You know, hope that makes sense. After about 45 minutes to 1 hour, I'll rotate the pan. That way the ingredients get exposed to the heat from the smoke box evenly. It'll take about 2.5 hours to 3 hours for all those ingredients to be nice and soft before we are ready to put everything into the blender and make our sauce. Place all those ingredients into the blender and add the vinegar. Go in with the paprika, give it a pinch of salt, and enough water just to barely cover the ingredients with the water. Now you want to turn the blender on high to blend up all these ingredients. Now you'll get a good idea of what the consistency is as you're blending up the ingredients. This sauce is looking a little on the thick side for me, so I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit of water while it's blending. Keep in mind that this sauce will thicken, being that it has fresh apple in it and apples have pectin in them. When the sauce cools off and is placed in the refrigerator, it will have a tendency to thicken up. So go a little bit thinner than you normally would on a sauce for this one. I like having smoother sauces, so my next step is straining the sauce through a fine mesh strainer. And of course, you could always skip this step depending on how good your blender is, right? As I mentioned a second ago, this sauce will have a tendency to thicken up when it's placed in the refrigerator. So you might have to play with the consistency on this. You could add more water, you could add more vinegar, or both. As it sits right there, this is definitely a good consistency on the sauce for my preferences. Now, the best part is tasting the sauce. We need to make sure that we don't need to add any more salt, any more pepper, any more vinegar. It should be pretty spot on, but adjust seasoning as necessary. Goes great with fried chicken, goes great on eggs in the morning, burritos, just wherever it is that you'd like to have hot sauces in. I like to store my sauces in mason jars like I'm showing you right here, but hot sauce bottles will be perfectly acceptable as well. And this will stay good in the refrigerator for a minimum of 6 months. If you have a means of checking the pH on it, I recommend that you check the pH. This one, when I checked it, was about 3.7. So that being said, it will stay good for about 6 to 8 months in the refrigerator. That is, of course, if you don't use it all by then. That recipe card that you're seeing on screen is a delicious recipe that this hot sauce goes beautifully on. So give that a watch, and I will see you there.